Okay, part two of my discussion of chapter three, where I go through the notes in Gulliver's Travels, the Oxford edition, to see what things completely go over my head. There's this whole thing about rope dancing, which is a popular contemporary entertainment, and always used as a satire in his hostile remarks upon the anti-clerical Whig Matthew Tyndall's "The Rights of Christian Church." Put the case that walking on the slack rope were the only talent required by Act of Parliament for making a man a bishop. No doubt, when a man had done his feat of activity and form, he might sit in the House of Lords, put on his robes and rochet, go down to his palace, receive and spend his rents, but it required very little Christianity to believe this tumbler to be one whit more a bishop than he was before. So it's this we do have this thing of like everyone is competing for prestige in the Lilliputian court by walking on ropes, and you think like, what does that have to do with prestige with your talents? And it's like, well, that's the point. It doesn't have any prestige. There's even a thing in here where they've got the emperor has his own very special chamber where he's got a length of rope, and it's like he lifts it up high or low, and the person has to either go underneath it or jump it, or sometimes gets to hold the other end of the stick. It's like it's all metaphor for making, he calls the tune, they do whatever he wants. It's got maybe a little less to do with Christianity or with talent than it has to do with the very kind of arbitrary nature of playing the political game in this. We get some of the guesses or thoughts on who people are. Film Nap, who we met in this chapter, is this satiric paradigm of a royal favorite and first minister was seen by contemporaries as alluding to the Whig statesman Robert Walpole, Chancellor of the Exchequer in 1715 and a principal champion of the post-1688 settlement and supporter of the Hanoverian dynasty. He was basically, they say he was basically the first kind of prime minister. Whig, it was in effect the Whig prime minister of both George I and George II from 1721 to 1742. His political management secured the Hanoverian dynasty, and Swift was definitely one of his. Swift was one of Walpole's principal Irish polemic antagonists and maintained Whig hegemony and the Tory party's proscription from office. Swift opposed him on religious, political, economic, and Irish issues. In an explicit and unpublished political allegory, an account of the court of the Empire of Japan, written in 1728, Swift satirized Walpole's government as arbitrary and corrupt, and referring to Walpole as perfectly skilled by long practice in parliamentary management and dexterous in purchasing of votes. So yeah, very much thing. And they've got some guesses on various other people in the thing. There's references to Swift's Draper's letters, which I will not go into. It's a big one. There's also just this thing of like the emperor. This emperor, like George I, had a large standing army, which was the object of Swiftian opposition antipathy. The Whig government ordered troops to be camped in Hyde Park in 1722 during the Jacobite emergency after the discovery of the Atterbury plot. So it was they were using this whole thing of having a big military there to ensure that he stayed in power was not something that was a big favorite of the opposition or of Swift himself. And they've got some kind of things on Skyresh Bolgolam, a type of implacable and malignant courtier. Might have been topical application, might have been to Earl of Nottingham, though it's interesting. One of these things of these are also types, so maybe they can be detached from their specific targets of satire, then to more general stuff as we go along in the story. I think probably a good note for myself to do is to actually do some reading up on this particular time in history of George I and just sort of read up on it. So I have a little bit of that kind of political stuff going on in the background as I'm reading as I'm reading Gulliver's Travels. I think that might help me, as well as just going through these notes here. All right, I will leave it there. More videos later.